Good morning and welcome to our latest edition of Rockstar Launcher, where we talk about the intersection of law and business with our superstar rockstar guest. We have a great one with us today. I am Susie Fulton. I'm a co-founder of a full-service women-owned law firm, and I'm here with my partner, Wei Wei Jeang. She is a phenomenal, probably one of the best in Texas, possibly the U.S., best patent lawyers. So without further ado, Wei Wei Jeang.
Thank you, Susie. My name is Wei Wei Jeang. I'm a co-owner of Fulton Jeang PLLC with Susie, and it's been such an exciting journey co-managing the law firm with Susie, and our mission is to provide a platform for happy lawyers who will have happy clients. Now, today I'm just so excited to introduce my rockstar client, Clayton Redmon. Clayton and I go way back now, so it's been, I'm trying to think, at least 15 years that we started working together on the various things that you come up with, and I've been trying to keep up with him since then. Clayton is a serial entrepreneur who has great ideas that we were able to protect on the IP front and hope and commercialize. So we're going to have a little bit of storytelling about how you tick and provide some pointers for future entrepreneurs.
A pleasure. Thank you, both of y'all, for having me. I'm so excited. This is a great honor to be here amongst y'all's many esteemed clients and rock stars. So let's rock and roll.
I want to know how y'all met. I mean, because you said it's been a while, and so how did you guys find each other?
So I was just coming out of an exit with the company in the healthcare field, and was starting another venture into intellectual property. Into telecommunications. And my partner group at that time wanted to make sure what we were developing was protected at the time. So we were referred to Wei Wei by one of our colleagues at church, or for me, mentors to my partner's colleagues, a guy by the name of Judge Moyer. And the first person that he said was, you need to call Wei Wei. Like, there's nobody else to talk to.
Oh my God. Okay, y'all get that. I mean, we have judges that are referring my partner for patents. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
And that was like 15 years ago.
At least.
Yeah. And he said, go talk to her. And we did, and never looked back.
What was the technology or product behind that first patent y'all did?
So it was a telecommunications patent for what's now called click to call, right? Whenever you have a phone number on your cell phone, or whenever you have, from a website, per se, let's say you're searching the web on your phone or on your desktop computer, when you click that phone number and it calls that number, that is our intellectual property that's based across voice over IP, switching over to the public service telephone network.
Now, and you did everything right. You know, you went and got a patent, tried to get protection around it, and yet my understanding is on this one, you still kind of got bit in the...
Yeah, so we call that a runaway patent, kind of like how people have runaway songs where, at one point in time, before they got it protected, it just blew up on the radio or went. Well, in this scenario, the technology was used so widespread by so many large companies that it was very difficult to kind of wrap our hands around protecting it, because the people that were infringing were, billion-dollar companies, right?
Right.
So it taught us a great lesson, early on. but it was a great learning experience, and it allowed us to continue to grow and to at least know, well, your ideas are on the right track. Because I had like a first row seat to the telecommunications revolution in this country, watching my father and a company here in Dallas pretty much transform telecommunications as we know it. So I was able to really see what was going on and really know what the next step of that evolution needed to be, and was able to get a patent for that. So,
That's what we call looking around the corner, where you
yes.
can see around that corner before everybody else does, and so that's awesome. So I'm going to ask you first, and then I'm going to ask Wei Wei, but what has been your favorite invention or an thing that you've gotten patented?
Favorite, I would have to say speak to sales, or the click to call technology,
Okay.
right? Because when I say I had a first row seat at watching that, voice over IP actually was commercialized in Dallas, Texas, right? Way back in the 90s, when the Army put out open sourced this technology. It was a company here in Dallas called Celsius they had about 55 employees, and my father was a part of that group and leadership group, and they essentially successfully commercialized voice over IP into what's called the call manager system, and they were bought by Cisco Systems. So prior to Celsius, Cisco was all routers. So when they acquired Celsius, it actually opened up the entire telecommunications world to Cisco, and that's where you get the 7960 call phones, or the call manager systems, all of those things. Now, I say all that to say is that I was there that whole process, from them being a very small company to interning when they had 20,000 square feet and 5 people working, and it just growing and growing and growing and growing, right?
Crazy.
So, and I was able in my lifetime at a very young age to see disruption from long distance being eliminated, calling cards being eliminated.
Wow.
Right.
Remember then?
Yeah, because before
All
voice
these
over
technology
IP,
that we
if
used
you
to.
called outside of 214, you had to pay long distance charge. If I wanted to call Arlington 972, it was long distance. If I wanted to call somebody in another country, I had to go to the store and buy a calling card. Now you just pick up the phone and make a phone call,
right?
Or you get on the computer and make a Skype call anywhere in the world. So I was able to see a lot of that transition happen, because at that time there was no Skype. It was pretty much just for corporations to be able to call offices that are in Dallas, but their office may be in Chicago, and it doesn't cost them any money, right? So for me, that's why that one's
impactful.
My favorite, because it allowed me to really see how technology could transform not only lives, but just civilization in general.
Now, I know you worked on several projects in the medical field or healthcare.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that journey. How did you get involved with that?
So at that time, that was a long, long time ago. So my partner, Brian Nations, and I, we actually were streaming concerts. Right now,
is that how it started?
Yeah, it started by streaming concerts. That's why the name was Stream Venue, because it was about making music venues capable of streaming content. Now, keep in mind, this was, what are we talking, 2004, 2005?
Okay.
There was no cloud. There was no Instagram. This was no smartphone. There was none of this, right?
Right.
And the idea was of some hardware and some software from an old technology called Flash. I don't know if y'all remember Flash.
Yeah.
That would allow for musicians, whether they're in their garage or in a venue, to plug all of their instruments into a mixer, plug that mixer into a box, and stream video and audio and high fidelity across the world. So that was going very well. And I had lunch with a old classmate, and actually it was breakfast. I had breakfast with a classmate, and
The breakfast you don't normally eat.
exactly, right? And so they called me around dinner and was like, listen, I don't know if you knew this, but my next appointment was with my client at a hospital. And I was telling them about you streaming these concerts. And they were like, what do you mean, these streaming concerts? And they were like, we just spent $600,000 streaming a surgery from here to another hospital using big satellite trucks. And we just spent a lot of money running fiber optics from our first floor to our basement so people can watch surgeries inside of our conference room. They're like, you telling me this guy's doing this with a box and some cameras? And at that time, they were really adamant in us coming in and talking to them about helping them out. But we were like, man, we're streaming concerts. We're having fun right now. What are you talking about? This is like
surgery.
This was like during early Soldier Boy days and early, 50 Cent days. Like we were having a ball. And so after many, requests, my partner was like, man, you go in there and talk to them. I don't want to talk to them. So I went in and talked to them, and they made such a compelling argument on how this could save lives and could transform things in a major way. So, and I successfully convinced my business partner that we should pivot and move away from concerts to surgery. And it was a great decision, but a lot of companies came in and filled in that gap for concerts that you see now. Some that I won't mention just because, but that, it's commonplace now for these things. Yeah. And then you had the onset of Instagram and other tools. So
people have smartphones.
Right. Exactly. Because now it was a box the size of, say, a VCR. I don't know if your guests remember what VCRs look like, right? But essentially, that's where it went.
Was that used as a teaching tool, or how did they use that when they streamed the surgery?
So you would be surprised. I can remember our first few years inside of the hospitals. Man, when I tell you, we were met with so much. Now the only way to put it is hate. I mean, one surgeon had to tell me, he was like, Clayton, you got to remember, like, even Johns Hopkins has a bottom 5%. And the fact that our technology recorded every hand movement and every movement inside of the OR was an absolute non-starter for 90% of surgeons.
So they felt like it was Big Brother watching them, as opposed to, because when you were talking about this, I was thinking, mainly like, my God, what a great, and I think now it's used for this a lot.
Lawyers got
training, right? Like teaching videos, but I guess from the doctor standpoint, and there's so many lawsuits and whatnot that they're seeing it as you're just there to catch if I make one little mistake or something that may look like a mistake that's not, that's being streamed.
Yes.
So
what we had to do was we had to wave the education flag for at least the first 3 years, right? Because what we did find is we found a niche of surgeons that are teaching surgeons, right? And teaching surgeons are used to operating with a bunch of students watching.
They have an audience, usually.
Right. Yeah. So we leaned very heavily into that space, into the teaching hospitals, into the teaching physicians. And then it got to a point where the teaching physicians and the physicians who did not mind, or who didn't want to operate in a bubble, started to use it as a key differentiator between, okay, if your surgeon is not comfortable with being recorded, then do you really want to have surgery by this surgeon,
Person,
right?
right.
And once that started to gain a lot of momentum, then it kind of put other surgeons in a position to, when they say they didn't want to be recorded, the question was why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Right. And so, and then it became a tool for medical device companies. So that's when it really started to take off more, when the monetary aspect of it was more impactful. Because there's nothing that drives adoption in healthcare faster than peer-to-peer innovations or peer-to-peer, communication. So when a medical device company could have a doctor that's using one of their tools that they're trying to sell to Dr. B and stream surgery of this doc utilizing it to Dr. B, and Dr. B can communicate with the surgeon on, why are you using it this way? Why are you doing it this? Then it started to drive adoption of these new medical device tools a lot faster and close these sales cycles a lot faster.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
Now, artificial intelligence is the big technology, right? It's something that everybody is thinking about incorporating into their inventions or to have AI assisted technology. And I know you're deep in it.
yes.
Working on various AI projects. Are there some that you can tell us about it?
Absolutely. So there's a few. I'll start with one that is kind of the foundation of it. I would say for the past 5 years, I would say about 5 years ago, I started to get really in depth in understanding AI before it got super popular, just because, as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for more efficient ways to take ideas in your head and get them
Put it out.
on paper or into a presentation to at least give it an opportunity to get some legs, because you have to present to potential partners, potential investors, potential people to just get it going, right? And so a lot of entrepreneurs would go from using freelance work for executive assistants in, say, the Philippines or Fiverr or Upwork or a lot of these different places to maximize your manpower. Because one thing that you're taught early on is that every person that's on your team is an additional 24 hours of productivity, right? When you think about it in that way. So it's kind of hard to be a Google and a Jeff Bezos when they're dealing with like 1 million hours of productivity a day, right? But as a young entrepreneur, you can add 2 to 10 to 15 people and not have that expense, then that can give you tremendous momentum. So I was interested early in how to use or utilize AI
As a tool to help you, right?
to help me as an entrepreneur run faster, smarter, quicker. That was very important. And so once I mastered a lot of tools, I had friends and family who were like, hey, can you help me learn this? Or can you teach me about ChatGPT? Or can you teach me how to utilize this? And it happened so much. One of them was like, well, you need to like write a book or create a course or do all of these things, because this was very, very, very helpful. Like, I can't tell you how helpful this was. So ultimately, I created a course called Nuity Master Courses, where it teaches busy professionals how to master AI tools in less than 3 hours. Because the number one thing that I see a lot of people do is use ChatGPT for everything. And I tell people that's like using a spoon to eat every meal, right?
That's
it's just
a good
one of many, 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 many tools that you should use to get the desired outcome and response that you're looking for in any type of project, right? So Nuity Master Courses takes professionals through that course very quickly and
Where can people find that?
you can go to nuitymastercourses.com.
Okay.
Nuity is like
We'll link that,
ingenuity.
yeah.
Okay. And for all of your listeners, we'll do a great discount for them,
Okay.
for them to go and
Awesome.
go and check it out. But prior to that, what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to just utilize tools like that were existing, right? I wanted to learn how to create my own tools, right? And so I went back to school to the University of Texas, McComb School of Business, and they actually have a program for a really deep dive into, you know, data science and AI on pretty much how to leverage computer programs like Python and how to program your own large language models and all of that. So that was a huge game changer for me, because realistically, AI is really just data science.
Right.
It's really what it is. It's really the UX of data science, right? To help people learn how to organize and get data in a very impactful way that helps you, right? So Annuity Master Courses is one. Then the next one would be, it's a company we started called ApplyAid.ai. And so shout out to my kids. They all three received full scholarships to college. So our kids are 11 months apart, right? Right. When they were growing up, that was the response. Everybody like, you know, they're all going to be in college at the same time, right? I was like, well, we didn't think about that, but now you say that.
Head that far.
Okay, now you say that is kind of, that could be kind of
So that
crucial.
helped out, yeah.
So full scholarship, no
Full
problem.
scholarships.
That's awesome.
So now what I did at that time is when my son, the oldest, I set all three of them down. He was a freshman in high school. Cartwell was in the 8th grade and Clara was in the 7th grade. And I sat them down in his freshman year and said, listen, guys, even though we can afford it, we're not paying for college. They were like, wait, what? Like, we're not paying for college. Like, you have 4 years, 5 years and 6 years to earn a full scholarship. And if you can't do that, then I'm not sure you want to go to college. Because the same things that are required to win a full scholarship are the same things that are going to be required to successfully matriculate through college. Finding stuff, filling out applications, writing essays, and sending them in on time. You have to do that about 20 times a week in college. So they set out on their journeys and did it. But what I also did is I hired them a lady that we call the scholarship coach.
Yeah.
The scholarship lady, and she would come to the house every Sunday for 3 hours and go over all of their SATs, ACTs, scholarships, help with essays, help all of these things, right? And over the course of those years, they all successfully received scholarships.
That's amazing.
And so when my daughter became a junior at WashU, I went back to Miss Valerie Gill and said, I have an idea. I've been creating these private large language models for all of these companies and these different things. How about we create a tool, taking all the knowledge that you have, all of the database, everything that you do for these students, and let's train an AI model so that now people can use this 24 hours, 7 days a week. And she was like, absolutely. She was like, because I'm getting older, I can only help so many kids at a time. I have a huge waiting list, and it's impossible for me to scale because unless I'm in front of the Zoom helping a student, there's nothing I can do. So we went through the process of about 6 months of taking about 150,000 plus scholarships in the database and going through all of her training material and going through her entire process and training this AI model. And now it helps students all over the world get scholarships. Not only does it help you find scholarships that you have the highest probability of winning, but it also, the algorithm also helps you apply to the scholarships, right?
So what's this one called?
It's called ApplyAid.
Oh, that's right.
.ai. $3 billion a year in scholarship dollars goes unawarded.
Okay, we're going to have to make sure we'll put up all these
links.
Websites and the information on all these things that Clayton has worked on when we release this video.
Absolutely.
So, now, I do want to loop back because I asked you your favorite patent.
Okay.
And now I want to loop back to Wei Wei. And what was your favorite one that you wrote or that he came up with?
Oh, well, speak to sale was the first one.
Yeah.
And then we worked on one where we recorded police interactions when you're stopped for a traffic stop. That one, we took it to the courthouse, but it was unfortunate that 2 months before we filed the first patent application, there was a prior art that was impossible to find at the time. So
that was probably, I was going to say that, from what I had heard and had been stalking your career, through Wei Wei, that to me was one of my favorites because of the impact, at the time. This was around the George Floyd and all the traffic stops, and people were getting stopped. African Americans were getting stopped and some killed in traffic stops. And your app and invention was something to help prevent that. And so I think, to me that really hit home with something that, that you've done. And like many of your inventions, it's something that helps people do something better.
Yeah, for me, that was like a passion project, right? We put sweat and tears into that one.
You're the one that actually convinced me to commercialize it, because remember I created that for my sons,
right?
Because they were in driving age, and you asked me like, "What are you working on?" Because I was doing something. You're like, "Oh, I just made this app so when Clayton and Carwell, if they get stopped by the police, they can press a button and it either calls you or calls somebody else." You're like, "What?" You're like, "Wait a second, everybody
Let's
needs
make
this."
everybody,
and that took that to the next. But that's where most of these thoughts come from. They all come from a need that I personally have or a loved one has, and they usually appear at night or over the course of a dream.
A notebook by the bed.
I try to, or of sound recording, right, and so so those. But that was a wonderful project, still is. I'm happy to see that it's been commercialized and it's actually, in gonna most likely become OEM in people's vehicles soon.
Yeah,
so.
That was something, and because my son at the time, he was same thing, learning how to drive and whatnot. And what hit home for me is that I had a different conversation with my son that I'm sure you had with your son, right? Because he's a white guy.
Gotcha.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, it's not fair that I have I tell you, be respectful, make sure they can see your hands. And yet the black parents are having a very different conversation with their kids, and particularly black males when they get stopped. And it just was something that when I heard about your invention, I was like, this is something that's going to be so impactful and helpful. So that meant a lot.
Absolutely. That's usually the goal of all of the innovations is being impactful.
So before we wrap up, though, I want to have a brief mention of your latest project that you talked to me about. I'm sure there's plenty that you haven't told me, but this latest one is exciting.
On the IP side or on the healthcare side?
The healthcare.
Okay, yeah. So we're working on some really, really, really impactful AI tools, diagnostic tools that can be very impactful. And I'm trying to be very choice words because we're working with the federal government in various ways, and I'm definitely under some serious non-disclosure agreements.
You're getting some serious traction, which is exciting.
Yes.
So this is something we're not going to talk too much about
I'll have
right
to come
now.
back, hopefully, when
Yes, we
We may have
will.
Clayton back and when we're able to talk more about it. But so we're wrapping up here, but real quickly, Wei Wei and I were admiring your pen, and I don't know if the audience can really see it or not, but it's a little butterfly. Tell us about that. It's gorgeous.
This was an heirloom from my great grandmother, and actually it was my wife's, but I took it and put it on my jacket, and it's just been there ever since, right? So I like to have it with me when I'm going to special places, and yeah, that's as simple as that.
Awesome.
It's just like I'm wearing my mother's rings,
That's amazing.
and she passed away in January.
Yeah,
So
so still so sorry to hear that, but
So with that, this has been great. I'd love, there's so much more. We're gonna have Clayton on
I
again to
know.
talk more
We'll
about
have to-
his inventions
it's going to
and
be a
whatnot.
series.
But
I'm all for it. Let me
like
know.
a whole series, yeah. A teaching, he can teach about all of his inventions and things.
No win.
With that, we're going to wrap it up, and thank you for joining us in another edition of Rockstar Launcher.